You may not be aware if you're not a Yahoo person. Yahoo announced yesterday that an investigation had confirmed that information associated with at least 500 million user accounts was stolen from Yahoo, the company, in late 2014. Yahoo users and others should immediately take steps to protect themselves. It was 2014, yeah, so you need to jump right on this. And stay vigilant for attempted add-on attacks in the coming days and weeks. Yahoo also owns photo-sharing site Flickr and Tumblr. No Tumblr accounts were affected. Some Flickr accounts might have been, according to news accounts, because in some cases users' Flickr and Yahoo IDs are linked, and Yahoo is, quote, reaching out, unquote, to those users. So if 500,000 people or accounts got hacked in 2014, how many do they have? It says here Yahoo has 1 billion people globally who engage in one of Yahoo's properties each month. So what does this mean for you? Even if you're not a Yahoo person, you may be a Yahoo, but you're not a Yahoo user. Shawn Tuma is our guest. He is a lawyer. He is in the North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth region. Scheef and Stone is the firm where he practices law, and cybersecurity, data security, all that kind of stuff is something that he specializes in. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The first thing struck me when I read this is, really, 2014? You're just now figuring this out? What's the story here? It seems like it takes a long time to either to figure it out or to get the word out.
Yeah, what we don't know is when they learned of it, because in some cases they'll learn about a hack such as this, and they'll report it to law enforcement, usually Secret Service or FBI. And if the agency believes it has an angle to go after the people who did it and wants to keep everything quiet, it'll instruct them not to report it yet. So that's always a possibility, or it's a possibility they just learned about it and had no idea until a few months ago or a month ago.
I don't know where I got in on halfway through a conversation this morning on MSNBC's Morning Joe talk show, and I think they were talking about this, but truthfully, it doesn't make any difference whether they were talking about this or something else. But they said there were these panelists, these reporter types, were talking about emails. Don't put stuff in emails you don't want someone to read. That was sort of the tone of what they're doing. Have we really reached that point? Obviously, you're not supposed to send an email. If you're at Scheef and Stone, you don't go, "Oh, that's Shawn Tuma, what a jerk," in an email, because you don't know when that's going to come back up again. But they were talking just generally. You don't. Is it really that bad?
Well, it sure can be. Look at the fallout from the Sony data breach, which coincidentally happened right about the same time as this one, the end of 2014. And a lot of the harm that came to Sony was from political statements or, in some case, racial or other things that its executives had stated in emails.
Yeah, that I'd forgotten about. God, all the stuff all the trash talk, all the high-minded people at Sony were engaged in. They lived two different lives, two different worlds.
Yeah, they were on their way to a fundraiser while shaming the candidate on the way.
Oh, well, I guess their donation will make it all. So what are we supposed to do? Even if you're not a Yahoo user, people, I don't know how many. I mean, do you know, or is it known how many, what the average of accounts people have where you have to have a username and password?
Well, first of all, you may be a Yahoo user and not know it, because Yahoo has powered the back office for other services.
I didn't know that.
Up until last summer, they were the provider for email services for AT&T. So if you were an AT&T customer, you may have been using Yahoo and not known it, and your information may have been in this database of user credentials.
Well, I have AT&T phone service at our house, but we don't have their email service. We just do texting. So are my texts? I don't put anything in text. I don't want to read in the front page of the paper either. Would they handle texting too, or just emails? Do you know?
No, it would have been the email platform that they were providing to their customers, such as the AT&T I believe .net extension is what I think it was that they were providing. But there are others as well. You mentioned like Flickr and Tumblr. And, it's an interesting coincidence. When Leslie Jones had her site breached a few weeks ago, it was a Tumblr site. So now we have to wonder if there was a connection there.
Is anything ever secure?
No. They say the only secure computers are ones that you never turn on and you fill with cement and throw in the bottom of the lake. But you can be more secure. And there are a lot of ways to be more secure.
All right.
And unless you have the very best people in the world setting their sights on you, most of us will be much better off just taking the steps to be more secure.
Do you have do you have a site to go to, or someplace to go, or can you tell us what to do?
Well, I can tell you the basics.
All right.
It starts with your password. Most of what we call data breaches or hacks really start with people using weak passwords or not even changing the default passwords. You should have a good, strong password, not too strong where you have to write it down, but something where you have upper and lower case, numbers, some characters, and you really shouldn't use a dictionary term. Use like a statement or a phrase that, use where you take the first letter of each word, put that with a couple of numbers, and then put a character behind it, and you've got a good, strong password that people won't guess. And the next step is you don't share passwords across multiple sites, because that's where the real harm from this comes in, is when the bad guys get access to this information, they can now go run this through databases and try it on other accounts that you may have to see if the password that worked on your Yahoo account now works on your Gmail account or your Facebook account or something like that.
Well, let's say I've got an account to the Dallas Morning News, and the password I use there is the same one I use on another information type account. Is that a problem?
It can be. From a basic standpoint, yes, anytime you share those passwords, that could result in a compromise such as this one with Yahoo, then having that information used to access your other accounts. Now, the truth is, if we're just talking about a Dallas Morning News site and then maybe a couple of other newspaper sites or something like that, you may not be that concerned about it. And so that's where some of the reasonableness of all this comes in. And a lot of my cybersecurity friends would lose their mind at hearing me say that, but it's true. Your bank account, you treat that with one level. You want to always use dual-factor authentication on your bank accounts.
Dual-factor authentication? What is that?
That's where you put in your email or your login and then your password, and then you get a text message from that provider that says, "Is this you?" And it comes over your cell phone. So you put in your password. That's your first level of authentication. Then you click that text message, you click that button and say, "Yes, this is me." That's your next level. And what reports and studies have found is that people that use dual level authentication like that there are almost never any data breaches involving their accounts.
Really?
Yeah. That is an incredibly strong method of protecting your accounts. Because they may get your password and login. Say you have the same one as your Yahoo, and then you get a beep from Dallas Morning News, and next thing you know, you get a text message that says, "Hey, do you want to log in?" And you click no. This is not me. Now you know your account's been compromised. You go change your password, and you don't let them into your account.
Do all banks offer that? I have to go back and look at my bank.
I believe. I'm not sure that all do, but I know most do. Or at least the larger ones do.
That That would seem to be a super obvious way, because the hackers wouldn't be able to say yes.
It sure seems super obvious, but when we can't even get people to change their password from 1234 to something like
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10. Yeah, just a little bit different, and maybe put a couple of letters and then an asterisk or something. If we can't get them to do that, getting them to take that extra 5 seconds to do another click, man, that's asking a lot out of them.
We're talking with Shawn Tuma, who's a lawyer in the Dallas area. He specializes in cybersecurity or cyber crime issues. We're talking, of course, about the data breach. 500,000 Yahoo user accounts were breached back in 2014 to one degree or another. They're not real. I don't think they're really sure exactly what that means as a practical matter. Now, I know the listeners are thinking, if I'm Hillary Clinton, I understand why they're after my stuff, but why would a listener to this program who's just a person, why do they have to worry about someone? Why would they be targeted? Or are they targeted in the sense that, hey, I'm going to get into Shawn Tuma's Tuma's accounts?
Yeah, all of us have vulnerabilities, and all of our data has value. Number one, it has value in bulk when it's sold on the dark net. But number two, and more importantly, what I just described about people using their account login information across multiple platforms, that is so common. And what they may do is try to take, let's say, my Yahoo password and login, and try that on my bank, or try that on my PayPal, or try that on Amazon, where they can go and order products or something like that. But the other thing is, the other really big weakness we have as consumers is through social engineering. And that's where many of us get had. And all social engineering is using trickery to make a good, smart person do really dumb things. That's why you see people clicking on the email links, that think it's a video watching cats on a Friday afternoon. And instead it's a link to malware. That's when you see people providing information about their bank account because they think it was, their bank that sent them an email when it really wasn't. And so what they do is they use this kind of information to get a foothold, to send you an email and say, hello, Shawn, this is your email address. This is your date of birth. This is your address. Here is, some other bit of information about you. So now we let our guard down and say, aha, they have all this information about me. It must be legitimate. And then we start giving them information back. And they really sucker people with doing that a lot.
We got to leave it go.
Case,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, people need to be on the lookout for emails that purport to be from Yahoo that have links in them, because Yahoo specifically said they will not send out emails that have links in them. So don't click on those emails.
All right. Great. Lastly, is there one site that you think is useful for people?
The best place to go really would be the ftc.gov website.
Really?
And they have a lot of tips on there on how to protect yourself against fraud and trickery in this online world.
All right. Shawn Tuma, thank you very much. Again, we appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Shawn Tuma is a lawyer in the North Texas area. Scheef and Stone, I think it is. Scheef and Stone, SCHEEF.